By far, the most powerful healing modality I've ever found is Ho'oponopono. Now, when I share with you these stories about not only my own life, but what happened that even got me into understanding more about this healing modality, you probably won't believe it, but it may plant the seeds for you to try it for yourself, to where when you look back, you can tell that when you learned this process, everything began to change in your life. Like, not only do you energetically feel differently, but literally people respond to you differently because of the energy you are carrying, and you find yourself more easily able to let go of the past and honestly let go of what other people have done to you, because you realize the truth about it, that this is a deeper level of looking at reality that shows that everything is a reflection. So first off, let me share with you how I found about this process, because when I did, it was definitely a game changer in my life. Like, if you were to look at my timeline and see a certain point of when I learned it, that was a major trigger point in my life to where things really started to change in a powerful way. Now, first off, I read about this story, and that's what hooked me in. So there was a man by the name of Dr. Hugh Len. Dr. Hugh Len is a doctor that was from Hawaii. And what happened is he was brought into a mental hospital, so like a mental facility where there were many people that were deemed crazy or mentally unstable. And what he did is he was brought into this mental hospital because there was so much violence. The nurses would be afraid to even walk around the hallways. They'd be like hiding around the hallways because they would be scared at any point they could get attacked. There were that of outbursts and fights that would happen continuously. There was a very high turnover rate where that of the nurses were quitting and not showing up for work because they didn't want to be there. So there was this very chaotic environment that was at this mental hospital, this mental institution. And what happened was they were like, we need to figure something out. We need like a therapist or a doctor or someone to help because it's getting crazy. There's so much turnover. There's so much of a weird energy in the air. We need to do something about this. So in was brought in Dr. Hugh Len. And Dr. Hugh Len had a very specific healing modality where he had modernized the process of what is called Ho'oponopono. So what he did is he worked on these patients. And what he would do is he would do his healing modality, and within 2 or 3 years, everything turned around. The people that were having these mental outbursts and this violence started to balance out to where then they were transferred to other facilities where there was like less security lockdown because they were behaving and there was less of that problem. The nurses started enjoying coming to work because there was a completely different energy. The turnover rate went down, and there was a completely different vibe at the facility, and people were transformed, and it was something that people were like, how did this happen? Now, Dr. Hugh Len, who is the person that was brought in, here is the crazy thing that will make you look at reality in a completely new way, and was kind of like unbelievable when I first found out about it, but then I applied it, and that's what I'll be sharing with you. So what happened is he never even met the people. It wasn't like he went into that facility and he was meeting with the patients for, an hour a day each and then working with them and then they were transformed. That didn't happen. All he did was look at the people's files, looking at what they did, looking at their energy, looking at their names. He did this process of Ho'oponopono, and these people began to heal. He never met them. Let me really point that out. He never actually met them in person. He would do Ho'oponopono on that of the people, energetically using that of their files, and he would do it into the space itself. So he would use that practice into the actually energy of the space there. But he never actually met the people. Now this was something that kind of blew my mind when I first learned about it. But then it also showed the power of this healing modality. And basically what he claims and what he did, you might be wondering, like, how did he do all of this? How was that even possible? Well, what he did and what he claims is that when you take full responsibility for your perception of something in your life, and you then forgive that within your own energy field, you are able to let it leave your life to where then the outer reality can change as a reflection. So in essence, what he did is he was able to take responsibility for his perception of these this mental institution, these people that were there that were deemed crazy. And he would go through a process of healing that within his own perception, healing it within himself, and then the outer reality would change as a reflection. Now, what he says is that in our reality, we have this collective consciousness that could be called data, calls it data. And basically, what you do is you quote unquote clean the data. You become aware of it, you notice it, you clean it, and you let it go. And basically, it's your conversation with the divine to clean the energy within your own field. And as you do that, it bubbles out of your own energy field and out of your own reality. This goes down to the basis as well that all the outer reality is a reflection of the inner reality, which then points to the question, how is it that he can change his energy and then those people actually transform, shift, the energy of that whole mental facility shifts? What is reality? That's what really began to puzzle my own mind. So back in 2012, I applied this process of forgiveness. This is really what it is forgiveness. Now, this is the interesting thing about forgiveness, is some people may listen to this and be like, well, how do I forgive? Like, why would I ask for forgiveness for something these mental, like this in this mental facility example, that they did? Well, by taking full responsibility of it, the reason you're taking full responsibility of it, by the way, is because you can even perceive it. The idea is that if you can even perceive it, at some level, it exists within you as a pattern or as something you become aware of, and what you are cleansing is your perception of it. What you are taking responsibility for it is your perception of it within your field, and then as you heal it and let it go, your outer reality changes as a reflection. So in a way, you say, well, okay, well, how do I apply this to the past? And I'm gonna show you how I applied this that changed my entire reality. But just a little story about this, the biggest shift I ever experienced in my life was back in 2012, when I went through my spiritual awakening. I started meditating, observing my thoughts, bringing more presence into my body. And one of the things that happened that I can clearly see was a huge timeline shift. Just like I shared that, like, I believe you'll look back in months from now and see that this video, once you started applying this process, was the trigger to you completely transforming your life. That for me was back in 2012. So in 2012, I was going through a pattern of understanding and realizing as I started to observe my beliefs, observe my thoughts, I became aware that even though my ex-stepmom back in 2015, back in when I was 15 years old, when she left my life, when I was 15 years old and my dad finally divorced her, all of a sudden I had all this freedom. I was able to eat enough food. I didn't have to earn going to school. Wasn't locked outside doing yard work all day. Had all this freedom. In that freedom that I had of being able to watch TV and have friends, which before it was like kind of like an army sergeant level of control, there was a level of freedom. But with that freedom, in a weird way, came anxiety. Because at least if I had to sneak food or sneak watching TV when my dad and ex-stepmom were at home, there was something that felt safe about that control. And the interesting thing that happened after my dad divorced my ex-stepmom is I attracted that of a ex-girlfriend that was very controlling and jealous. Why? Because deep down, probably, it felt safe within my energy field to have somebody like that because it was what was familiar. Now understand the word familiar and the word familial are very similar words because it feels like family in a weird way. It feels like this is the energy I know. So then I was with this ex-girlfriend for 4 or 5 years, and I finally broke up with her. And when I did, I then got transferred. I was working at Nordstrom's and Women's Shoes. I got transferred from Brass Plum Shoes, which was a department where it's a sales commission job. Brass Plum was like the cheaper women's shoes. And then I got transferred to Salon Shoes, much better department, much higher price point. And the manager of that department was the same exact personality as my ex-stepmom, like to a T. She would talk down to people. She like should have got fired way before she did. But here was the thing, she was protected by upper management, which in a weird way, think about it, things I felt like when I was a kid, up till 15 years old, things weren't fair. This isn't fair. Why do I have to deal with this? Why do I have no freedom? Things aren't fair. Here I am in a job in 2012 saying the same thing. Things aren't fair. There's this manager that's abusing all the, like mentally and emotionally abusing all the employees, the 12 employees in her department, and she gets away with it because of upper management. Things aren't fair. But then what happened is we tried getting her fired, and we weren't able to because she was protected by upper management. 2012, I learned meditation. I started observing my thoughts. That was when I learned about the power of this level of forgiveness. And what happened is I was able to clearly see that I was in the same pattern of when I was 15 years old and earlier. And I started to realize, wait, that energy has followed me up until now. There must be something in my own field that's keeping it there. So what I did is I realized that my ex-stepmom, I was able to clearly see that even though I didn't have to talk to her ever again or anything like that, I was able to clearly see that the reason she was what she turned into, was because her dad treated her the same way. I'm not saying this makes it right. I'm just saying I understood that she was treated a specific way by her dad. Therefore, she developed the same energy patterns and she became just like him. And then she treated my brother and I the same way she was treated by her dad, which was like very harsh, controlling, abusive. Now, didn't make it right, but it did help me understand her. In a weird way, I was able to feel a certain level of compassion or realizing if someone turned out that way, imagine what they had to go through. Because I read a quote that said, people are always doing the best they can with the level of consciousness that they're at. People are always doing the best they can with the level of awareness that they're at. If someone steals from you, it could be because they stole from you because they didn't believe in their own abundance. Maybe they had to get food for their friends or family or whatever, even if it was a selfish reason. That's what they learned. That's their programming. As Dr. Hugh Len would say, that's the data. That's the data. Now, what happened was in 2012, I forgave my ex-stepmom, and here's the weird thing. I realized that I would not have gone through my spiritual awakening if it wasn't for my ex-stepmom from 7 to 15 years old. In a weird way, I started to feel somewhat grateful because that led to so much spiritual growth. As I started to realize these things, I started to forgive her. As I forgave her within my own body, as I let it go, and as I started to shift that energy, within 1 to 2 weeks, that manager got fired for something much smaller than some of the other things she did. Basically, I think what she did is she emailed someone that was pregnant something and said a phrase she shouldn't have said, and she got fired got fired quickly, and there was no reversing it. And it was so crazy to me that it finally happened when before she got away with things that were way worse than that. She would talk down to people, make them cry, say crazy things. I'm not even gonna get into the stories, but it was mind-blowing. And I always remembered that, because then I thought to myself, like, as soon as I healed the energy with my ex-stepmom and that narcissistic energy pattern that I had to deal with from 7 to 15, as I healed that, within 1 week, my whole reality shifted and I haven't had to attract that same energy pattern again. Which further shows this whole idea of what is reality? Is there really other people in reality? Or are we all one consciousness? Now, I'm going to share with you as well how this relates to something Eckhart Tolle said here in a little bit. But just to understand this concept a little bit more, let's look at this right here. So if you can see this. Okay, so we have an energy field that goes around our body. This will change the way you see your own thoughts. This will change the way that you show up, and you understanding as well that there really is, like, you are responsible for your field. Even though I wasn't responsible for the abuse my ex-stepmom may have done to me from did in different ways from 7 to 15 years old, I was responsible for my reaction to it. I was responsible for what I did with my own energy field in it. Now look at this. This completely changed my perspective when I learned this. So we have within it our field of energy that goes around our body. What quantum physics shows us is that there's, and also Heart Math Institute, by the way, there's an electromagnetic energy that goes around our heart, goes around our body. We have an energy field that exists much further beyond that of our actual body. Now what happens is within this energy field, there are the accumulated thoughts, feelings, and emotions and patterns that we most consistently think and feel. And many times as well, maybe unresolved patterns from the past, the familiar that I was talking about earlier. Now, so within our field, we have the thought forms that are there. And what happens is when we are looking out into the world, we are perceiving of quote unquote other people. I say quote unquote other people because the idea behind Ho'oponopono is that, and the modernized version of it from Dr. Hugh Len, is that it's all a projection. There really is only you. There's 11 to 15 million bits of information around us at any point. We can only perceive of about 40. So what if, based on the energy that we have within our body, we are only able to perceive of the 40 bits of information that are active in our energy field? That gets a little bit trippy. Literally, you may be pulling out of other people the triggers and the things that are active in your energy field. I'll share another little bit of a weird, this may not seem related, but it is. And I'm not blaming this on someone else, because obviously it was also within me. In the past relationship that I was in back in like 2013, 2015 or something, it was a long time ago. I remember being in a relationship with someone where there was this thing that came up in the relationship where this person that I was with, we'd go out to dinner. We had like 9 to 5 jobs and stuff, and we would go out to dinner. And I remember going out to dinner, and there was this one time where, I don't know where this came from, but basically, what happened is I would pay for dinner, and then I would let her tip. And it was like, oh, you can tip if you want, because I was like paying for dinner every night. And this is back also in 20, I was not making near, as much money. I was having a 9 to 5 job, living paycheck to paycheck, but I'd pay for dinner, and then I'd be like, oh, you can tip if you want. And I never said that before in a relationship, really. I would just either pay or not pay. But what was interesting is one thing that I remember very clearly is that was like a trigger for her. She was like, okay, I was in a past relationship, and that was always a thing in my relationship with this other person I was in a relationship with, because from my perspective, if you're gonna pay for dinner, you're gonna pay for all of dinner. You're not gonna ask me to tip. So it's like, she wasn't happy about that. In a weird way, even then, as I was getting into this esoteric information, I was aware that in an interesting way, not that I'm blaming it on her, but I'm like, where did that desire that I had to ask her to tip, you could just pay for tip, which I never had before. I ended up saying like, oh, you can tip if you want. That may have come out of the field. Because maybe there was a trigger of like, oh, of not liking that, of not wanting that, was maybe the residual from the past relationship. But I'm sitting with her and I'm like, oh, you can tip, or you can tip if you want. And she's like, oh, I have a trigger around that. Now, I'm not blaming it on her. There's nothing right or wrong about this. I'm just saying, if it's within the field, there's a chance that we may be pulling out of people the 40 bits of information that are active inside our field. So this is where things become very interesting in reality. Now you might be asking yourself, Aaron, what's the process? So the process of Ho'oponopono is all about understanding 4 simple statements. Now, why do we say these statements? Let me show you who you really are at the core level, and I'm also going to share with you Eckhart Tolle's perspective on this in a little bit different way. This is who you really are. This is who you are. You might be saying, Aaron, I'm not an easel. You call me an easel, bro? You call me a whiteboard? You are source energy. Think of this as a blank slate. This is the divine. This is pure divine energy. That's who you really are. Now, what happens is data, stories, data. Things happen to us in the past. Stories. My stepmom did this to me. Now I believe that women are trying to control me. I go out into the world. I experience that because it's active within my field. Now, what Ho'oponopono is, as a ancient modality, and back in Hawaii, by the way, it was mainly used for family systems, other families in Hawaii to get along. There'd be a mediator, and they would be saying these 4 statements: I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. But the deeper level of reality of this is realizing the truth of what quantum physics is showing us, and that is that energy cannot be created nor destroyed. You exist, and everything on the outside is a reflection or a projection of what is going on in the inside. So because you are divine source energy and we have these patterns that come from the past, what you are doing is saying, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you, is a way of clearing out the patterns in your field, and your conversation with this is with the divine. Imagine talking to the divine. You can do this with other people, but the deeper level of this is there really aren't really any other people. Think about it. If we were looking at that planet right now, like right now, we look like separate pieces of consciousness, right? You're looking at me through this on your phone or on your computer, and you're like, oh, well, I'm here and he's there. If you were to expand the scope of awareness maybe to the moon or something, to space, and look at the earth, you would see just one earth. And on the earth would be all the cells of earth. And what happens is we've simply forgotten that we are all connected. We are all one consciousness. Now, what happens is because we've forgotten this, we develop an ego that says, you did this to me, I did this to myself, this is right, this is wrong. We develop all this resistance. Well, what we are doing is talking to the divine and saying, I'm sorry, which is a way of taking responsibility for it within your field. I'm sorry, please forgive me. And you're saying, I'm sorry for the unconsciousness within my field. And I'm gonna get to the Eckhart Tolle thing here in a minute, which will completely, I think, blow your mind when you look at this and reaffirm everything you're learning. I'm sorry, please forgive me. I'm sorry for this unconsciousness in my field. Please forgive me for holding on to it for so long. Please forgive me for acting in the way that I did, for believing and carrying this heavy energy with me. Thank you. Thank you for being the divine and letting it go for me. I love you, which is who you really are. Really what you're doing is purifying your field. The more you purify your energetic field, the higher quality of thoughts and emotions you have, the more divine and synchronous your life is. Because remember, it's just a reflection. The people you attract in your life, the 40 bits of information out of 11 to 15 million bits, you pull out of them either the higher quality or the lower quality, depending on what's in your field. This is taking responsibility for your field. You're literally purifying it. Now you can say, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. As you say these phrases over and over again inside your field, you begin cleansing your field. And you can think of certain people. I've done this towards my ex-stepmom, towards my parents, towards people from my past, towards ex-girlfriends. I've done this in many ways to release the energy of the past, to release it from my energetic field. Remember, it's not about necessarily forgiving someone else because they deserve it. It's about forgiving because you don't choose to have it within your field. You can say, well, I'm not gonna forgive my ex-boyfriend who cheated on me. You can say that, but what you'll end up doing is carrying it within your field, and then you will attract someone else where the 40 bits of the 15 million bits of information are that to where they may cheat, or there may be resistance or energy there. Because remember, you are pulling out of other people the 40 bits of information that is active inside of you. And the information that is active inside of you is the stuff that you hold on to. It's the stuff from your past that's still there. So, the power in what I'm sharing of saying, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I'm sorry, I'm taking responsibility for this. It's like you're saying, I'm sorry for the unconsciousness. And you say, Aaron, I don't want to put I'm sorry into my field. It means I feel guilty. No, there's not about blame here. This isn't about blame. This is about the repentance of, forgiveness is the key to elevating your vibration to a higher level. It's like if you were going to a grocery store and you're in the line. Some people still go to grocery stores, I guess. I know we have online delivery and stuff now, but imagine you bump into someone on accident. What do you say? You say, maybe, I'm sorry. Oh, sorry. Now, does it mean you're like, I'm so guilty, or this person's like, you did this? It's not about blame. It's just, I'm sorry for the unconsciousness. I'm sorry, I wasn't aware. Accident. Think of it like that energy. But I'm sorry, it's more of even the intention behind I'm sorry. I'm sorry, please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. I love you. As you say these energies and within your field, it begins to change your energetic field. Now, here's the other thing you want to understand within this too. Let's take this even a layer deeper, and then I'm going to talk about the Eckhart Tolle thing. There are energetic patterns within your field that didn't come from you. There are energetic patterns in your field that may have come from mom and dad. Think about it. Your mom was in her mom, and there was an energetic field that was passed on from your mom to you, from your mom's mom to your mom to you, and you have within it many times many ancestral energies, even ancestral memories. The things that happened to you in your life, you may not even know exactly where it came from, but what you're really healing and what Ho'oponopono allows you to heal is the collective unconsciousness, because we're all connected. So as you heal it within your field, you're healing your lineage, you're healing the collective unconsciousness as well. Because at a deeper level, we are all here to learn different lessons and to remember who we really are, which is we are all connected. That's what I keep saying, expand the scope back. Expand the scope back. The more you expand the scope back, the more you can see this from different perspectives. Where it's like, that person did that to me. At a deeper level, that person is you. It's another aspect of your consciousness, because you're playing this temporary game called life. You are literally source energy that is forgotten. You are eternal, connected to the one, to all, playing a separate game in this avatar as this version of you, but not remembering that someone else signed up, another soul signed up to reflect things back to you. So you could play out different energy patterns and learn. But at the deepest level, that's another aspect of self. It's like if you almost had different souls connected to a higher self, and it keeps going down. And it's like this soul over here on this tree could be like, oh, you did this to me. At the deepest level though, you're all connected. You're all one. But we came here to Earth to play and to go through this drama in a way that we could experience and unleash energy and learn more about ourselves. So this is why this is so powerful. Now, let's get to the Eckhart Tolle thing. You've heard me say it 5 times now. So Eckhart Tolle, when we even think about this, I want to bring out this, let me see if I can find this other. When we look at this, for example, think of it like, we're talking about the whole Eckhart Tolle thing. We're talking about what he says is that there's not really anything to forgive. So if somebody did something to you in the past, you can say, well, how do I forgive this person? I don't want to forget. I'll forgive, but I won't forget. What happens though is that energy still stays active within your field, and it's still a perspective of ego. Now, what Eckhart Tolle says is that there's nothing to forgive, because until you recognize that what happened was unconsciousness. Someone was unconscious about something they did to you. When you recognize it as unconsciousness, it makes it so much easier to heal, because you realize that what did that wasn't the deeper level of presence from the person, it was their unconsciousness. And in the collective unconsciousness, there's just stories playing themselves out. So you could think of it like there's people in our reality that are reflections of us. There's a deep level of presence, I am, that everyone's connected to. But sometimes people have the unconsciousness activated within themselves. They are acting that out towards other people. And then that is what you say, well, do I forgive that? Am I going to forgive that for happening? But that thing that happened was just an energy pattern that was playing itself out, that was unconscious. Once you recognize it as unconscious, there really is no blame. It's just doing its thing. And that's why once you get to a level of presence, you realize there is no problem. You realize you could still be aware. Doesn't mean you're saying, oh, I'm just gonna keep letting it happen. But from a level of presence, you'll find that those things don't happen. So then that's about you clearing your energetic field. Because anytime you blame someone else as well, you may send them energy. When you send someone else energy, which is also sending another aspect of you energy, which is why what you put out is what you get back, it goes through your energetic field. Say you're saying, no, I don't like this person. That I don't like this person arrow goes through your field, into the mirror of life, into a person. It's an energetic thought form. As it goes through your field, it leaves a residue of that same energy active within your field. Then you go out and you meet other people, and it's active in your field. If you are perceiving of it in your reality, realize it's somehow active inside of you. So this is when things really begin to change, because you take full responsibility for your own energy. You take full responsibility for how you're showing up, and as you do, you can then do something with the energy. Now this, by the way, as well, when you look at like the Bible, for example, for like some of the stories of Jesus, he would meet people and he would see them as healed. He wouldn't see them as sick. He would see them as healed, and then they would like energetically shift to that vibration, because he recognized that there really is no outside. And remember, when he was going through his whole process, and he said, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Forgive them because they don't know what they are doing, because they are unconscious. So it's that same idea of it's just unconsciousness playing itself out. My ex-stepmom that was being narcissistic towards my brother and I, she's playing out the unconsciousness that her dad treated her with. She's playing it out. I could say, well, I forgive you, or I don't forgive you. It was unconsciousness. It's not about right or wrong. It's just, do I want to continue carrying it in my field and attracting people that reflect that energy back? So, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. These are the 4 highest vibrational phrases you could be saying to clear out your own energetic field. Now, what I encourage you to do is I encourage you to do this meditation for 21 days. I have a video that actually came out years ago that is a very popular, very powerful video that just has this affirmations and meditation music in the background. You can listen to this while you're in the car. You can listen to this while you're cleaning your house. You can listen to this in a meditative state, laying down, however you want. And now a couple quick things. You might say, is the order matter? No, it doesn't matter the order. This is the order I say it in, and I've noticed a lot of other people say it in. It's just easy flow for me. I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. It's more of the energy and the intention behind it to clean out your energetic field. And this is about your relationship with the divine. You are dialoguing with the divine and saying, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. You're taking your power back, and you're realizing there really is no outside. You are a divine being who is remembering it now, and this is your way of purifying your thoughts and emotions so that the 40 bits of information out of 15 million are of a higher quality thought. Now, the meditation that I'm gonna link below is that of the video. I'll timestamp the actual time of the meditation in there. Listen to it for 21 days and watch how much your life begins to change. And can you do me a favor? Do that for 21 days. Comment below this video and let me know the transformations you have in your life, because then you'll be able to read it and kind of like other people will be able to see it, and it will encourage them to go through this process as well. So do this Ho'oponopono meditation for 21 days. Listen to it in the background, connect to your heart, let go, let the divine come in, comment, and 21 days from now, other people will be able to read it. You'll be able to inspire yourself with it too, and watch how much your life changes. And understand this, reality is a reflection of the vibration you are emitting. Now, if you want to experience more synchronicities in your life, if you want to experience more of the divine flowing through you, the key is elevating the vibration within your body to then perceive of a new outer reality. Now, if you haven't done it yet, there is a survey or a quiz you can do that will reveal to you what your vibration is and then give you a meditation for elevating it to a higher quality, to a higher level. So if you haven't checked that out yet, you can check it out in the top of the description box below. But that will help you to elevate your frequency to a new level so that then you perceive of a completely new reality. And awareness really is the most powerful part of this whole process. The more aware you become of your own vibration, the more you can let go of what doesn't serve to then allow in the higher vibration inside of your body. Now, when it comes to Ho'oponopono, this is also about what it's all about. It's about elevating the frequency of your vibration to perceive of a new reality.